Hello again, this is Kirby Lambert, Regional Safety Manager for the North Region for Mission Petroleum Carriers. We're here today with a friend of mine, Trooper Brannon Daves. He is a CV trooper out of Stratford, and he is quite knowledgeable on the hazmat stuff. So I invited him to come to talk about what a driver needs to be aware of and what they're responsible for if they're hauling HM. And the HM that Mission Petroleum carries is crude oil. That's our one product that we carry, and so it has a certain ID number and a specific placards that are required for that product. And I'll let Brandon talk about that here in a little bit. Brandon, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about you.
Okay, my name's Brannon Daves. I'm stationed up in Stratford, just north of here. Been with the Highway Patrol for 16 years. Been on the commercial side for 4 years.
All right, very good. All right, so you stopped this truck for a level 2 inspection. You see that it's hazmat, and we're going to start up here in the cab. What do you look for and what is required?
Well, the first thing I look for when I make contact with the driver is I need to know where his shipping papers are, because according to the hazardous material regulations, they have to carry their shipping papers a certain way. And I believe there's 3 ways. First way is it's got to be in the driver's door. The second way is that it's got to be in their immediate reach while they're seat belted in their driver's seat.
Okay.
And then the third way is I normally do the passenger side approaches. So there's been numerous times to where the driver will have the shipping paper on the passenger seat when I jump up there to make contact with the driver.
Okay. And if you're the shipping paper, say it's like this one that's in the driver's door, and it's got if they got numerous shipping papers, the most recent load is got to be on top, right?
It's got to be on top, and it's also has to be listed first if he's hauling some other stuff.
I don't think the shipping paper's in that, but usually we have a clipboard that has the shipping papers right in here. So. And where we're hauling one product, we have that one product listed, and then where it's clear and visible that it is HM. Tell me what information on the shipping paper that is required.
So on the shipping paper, it's got to be listed a certain way. It's got to be the ID number first, shipping name, the hazard class, and the packing group, which depending on the product, it might not even have a packing group.
Right. So in this case, the ID number is going to be 1267 because we're hauling crude oil.
So that's what's going to be very first on the shipping paper. It's going to say 1267.
1267. Then I think the proper shipping name, correct me if I'm wrong, is petroleum crude. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And then you go on to the packing group.
The hazard class.
Which would be a 3. And then the packing group. Okay, so that's on the shipping paper. So now, like I said, we carry ours in the door pocket. It's readily accessible. What else, if you're hauling HM, is required?
One other thing you have to have is the emergency response guidebook. It's got to be carried identical to the proper way the shipping paper has to be carried.
Okay.
And the driver's side door and within the immediate reach of the driver.
All right, very good.
And another thing that is required inside the truck is the fire extinguisher, and it just can't be any ordinary fire extinguisher. It has to be a certain size.
Okay. Is that a 10 BC or
10
bigger?
10 BC or bigger.
And I learned this myself. 10 BC, you think it's 10 pounds or something like that. That 10 stands for how many square feet that fire extinguisher will cover. So it has to be a fire extinguisher that covers at least 10 square feet or more. All right. Is that everything on the cab as far as the HM goes?
Other than the other paperwork, he's got to have his HM registration also in the paperwork with the shipping paper.
And his permit book.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And we're continuing to talk about hazmat on the trailer. What is required on a hazardous materials vehicle. This is on the outside. and this is a cargo tank. It's a spec 407. So I'm going to let Trooper Daves talk about what is required for that. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Kirby. So since this is a 407 cargo tank, this is considered a bulk package, meaning it's more than 119 gallons. So they are required on the placards, one in the front, one on the rear, and both sides for whatever product they're hauling. And also the emergency shutoff, it's got to be marked on the tank near the emergency shutoff.
And right here, here's the lever for the emergency shutoff, and you can see the sign.
And also some additional markings. Obviously, you have your annual DOT marking. You're also going to have your tank inspection markings on the, depending on the year, on the left side near the spec.
Near the spec plate.
Yeah.
And here's the spec plate, so it's close to it. Now on all these markings, all these are required except this upper coupling. That has nothing to do with hazmat, does it?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's just a company requirement,
Yep. And
right?
depending on which inspection it is, some are only good for 1 year, and some of these are good for 5 years.
Okay, and see, we have it marked. The V is for visual, the K is for a leak. The V is external.
Yeah.
And that's every year annually. Then the I is internal leak. Is that correct? And then internal visual, and then this is pressure, and those are required every 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
And also another inspection point would be these ring stiffeners. They're welded, no cracks in the welds. Also, the spec plate by itself has specific requirements supposed to have to display. Also,
it's got to show that this is a 407. It's got to show that it is a 407
spec tank.
And it'll have the serial number, the VIN number, and different information.
And the max capacity.
Yeah, right.
That
it can hold. Okay.
And then you just come down here to the valves. Make sure all your valves are closed.
Okay.
All the piping, no cracks, no leaks.
Okay.
Can't leak any HM.
Right.
At any time.
Okay.
These dust covers, they're not required to, but it's
good practice.
It's good practice to just go ahead and screw those back on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it just helps from any possible leaks or stuff like that. You got another level of safety there.
And also because it's a bulk package, you gotta have a placard, and it also has his ID number.
Right.
On front and back and both sides, and they have to be specific sizes, specific color. They can't be faded. They can't be near any advertisements or anything. They gotta be by themselves.
Okay. So this right here tells me, according to the ID number, it's 1267. So that's crude oil, and it tells me it's a class 3 flammable, right?
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
Yes.
And the same thing
on the back. You gotta have your placard, ID number.
Like this should be wiped off right here,
Right.
cleaned a little bit for better communication, if you would.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And you got the ring stiffeners all the way down the tank. And
no cracks.
No cracks. And anything else you can think of as far as HM goes?
Well, HM within our policy, it's optional to get on top. Look at the manhole and the rollover protection.
Okay.
For us, it's optional.
Optional. Okay. But as we see here, we got rollover protection up here on top. What does the rollover protection do? What is it protecting?
It's protecting that cargo tank to do basically a 360 if it comes rolling over.
I got you. Okay. Very good. All right. That's good for you, sir. You feel like we covered everything there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed these series of videos about the truck tractor inspection, the trailer inspection, and the things that are looked at for hazmat loads. We'll sure have some videos in the future that covering other things like possibly ELDs, electronic logging devices, and different things like that. So thank you for your time.